So today I want to talk about the equipment that you will need as an amateur investigator and give you a few pointers if you look for a paranormal team and things that you should look out for. There's an app called Meetup, and what it basically does is connect you with groups and people with similar interests. When you're looking for a paranormal team, make sure that the people there know what they're doing. Yes, some of them will be beginners like you. But you don't want to be on a team where the people that are showing up there to do the investigation, they're drinking or they're using drugs. You smell marijuana on them. Because what happens is the alcohol and the drugs lower your vibration, it lowers your frequency, and it makes it easier for negative entities to be attached to you, to enter you, and therefore influence you. And for those around, if it can't get to that person who happens to be in a low vibrational state, if you're in a low vibrational state, it can go on to you. So you want to be careful with that. You never want to investigate by yourself. Always have somebody else with you for a number of reasons. One, it's more fun. Both of you get evidence, you check it out, and you're happy because you got something. Two, it's a safety reason. If something happens to you, the other person can go get help, and vice versa. My first mentor said, never run in the cemetery because you risk tripping over one of the stones, the headstones, and you could hit your head on another headstone and kill yourself and end up being one of the occupants in that cemetery. You would think that's a no-brainer, right? But people will run through a cemetery. You want to make sure that you know your equipment. Now, for a beginning person in the paranormal, your three main equipment will be a digital voice recorder, a digital camera, and a spirit box, either PSB 7 or PSB 11, with a speaker. The difference between the two spirit box is the PSB 7 is like a transistor radio, and it sweeps through the radio frequencies, and that's how you will hear voices. You'll have white noise, and then you will hear voices coming through. The PSB 11 is like having two spirit boxes in one, and I think some of them also have a temperature detector, so it has a way of finding out when the temperature drops or raises. But for the most part, it's two in one. So that means that you could set one spirit box on the FM and have it do a sweep forward, and then you could set it on the other one on FM, have it do a sweep in reverse, or mix it up, AM, AM, FM, AM, however you choose to do it. You have the benefits of two. Make sure you know how to use your equipment. Nothing is more annoying as you having your equipment and you wait until the investigation to learn how to use it, and now you're disrupting everybody else's investigation because someone's got to take time out to teach you how to use the recorder. You don't need a fancy digital recorder. You don't need a fancy digital camera. You could pick one up at your electronics store. You could pick one up at eBay. Make it simple so that it's just easy to work. You don't have to spend a lot of time trying to figure out what button does what. You want to make sure that you eat before every investigation because you want to raise your vibration. Eat healthy food. Don't eat junk food because that's not good for the vibration. Eat something healthy. You want to raise your vibrations so this way negative entities can't get to you. It kind of acts as a barrier. You also want to say prayers. When you're home, before you leave, say a prayer. Doesn't matter what denomination or what religion you practice. It's just a protective prayer. It doesn't have to be long. It could just be, if you're a Christian, Heavenly Father, I ask that you send the Archangel Michael to protect me while I go on this investigation. You might even say the Archangel St. Michael's prayer, calling for him to protect you. But it could be simple as that. When you get to the site, just before you start the investigation, say a prayer. When the investigation starts, make sure that your cell phones are off or on vibrate. It will annoy the other members if your phone goes off. Don't talk during the EVP sessions, because remember, you're trying to record the spirits. You're trying to record the conversation. When you do this with you and one other person, make sure to say, for instance, we're at Grant's tomb, the date, the time, state the weather conditions and whom you're with. You know, that's part of the evidence that you'll be getting when you log this. Be mindful, be respectful to the deceased. Talk to them like you would want a living person talking to you. Keep the questions short and give them about 10-20 seconds to answer. Keep the EVP session to about 5 minutes tops, I would say, because you will have to edit your EVPs to make sure that you're getting answers, and you may need software like Audacity. Everybody uses Audacity. It's free online, or you could order it on eBay and load it up to your computer. Do not use the apps that you see in the Google store, stuff like that. Those apps are for entertainment purposes only. They're not good. Read up on the field of the paranormal. There is a book, Troy Taylor, and I forget the name of it, but it deals with, I think it's about how to do investigations, and it deals with equipment that you would need, what they are, what they're used for, and it goes through a whole process. Now, Troy Taylor is old school paranormal investigator. By that I mean, we use EMF detectors, EMF reader, to see if the spirit is nearby. His rationale is, we have not determined what kind of energy, we have not determined what kind of energy spirits let out. So if you don't know what kind of energy that they have, how can you detect it? It kind of makes sense. However, spirits are energy to begin with, and they manipulate energy. They don't have vocal cords. They don't have a voice box. They're manipulating the radio frequencies of the spirit box so that what they're saying is coming through. If you hear them mentally, it's like mental telepathy. They're manipulating the energy so that you can mentally hear them. One of the other reasons why you should also have somebody with you, and all this that I'm sharing with you is from my personal experiences and from books that I've read. Other people will have different experiences and different opinions. But I went with my first mentor to Grant's tomb, and we did an EVP session. We both had our digital recorder. We turned it on at the same time. We asked the same question. Sometimes he would ask a question. Sometimes I would ask a question. To some of those questions, we got two different answers altogether. So sometimes what will happen is you can ask a question and one spirit will answer your question, and another spirit will answer the other person's questions, sometimes they won't answer at all. Don't be discouraged if your first time out you don't get anything. You look at these TV shows and you go, wow, every time they go out there they get something. It's not true. Keep in mind that shows like Ghost Adventures, Zach and his team usually do investigations from sundown to sunup. So that's anywhere from 8 to 12 hours that they're at a location investigating. But you see 42 minutes of it. That's a lot of editing and stuff. And they're only showing you the best of what they have. And then, of course, the production company wants to hype up things a little bit. You look at a show like The Dead Files, and you see Steve driving to the client's home, asking them questions and so forth, and then there will be a cut where it says 17 hours earlier, and Amy is coming onto the property, and this is usually, most of the time is at night, and she's on the property and she's telling you what she's sensing. You don't get the film for those 17 hours. It's a 42-minute show, so you're getting the best of the best. Paranormal Lockdown with Nick Groff and Katrina. They're at a location for 72 hours. That's 3 days. You're seeing 42 minutes of it. So this is to give you perspective that not every time they go out there they're going to get evidence. Same thing with you. In baseball, A-Rod, Derek Jeter and them, every time they got up the bat, they didn't always get a home run. Sometimes they didn't even get a hit. That's going to happen with you. There's going to be some days where it's going to be so boring you would rather watch paint dry. There's going to be times when you're going to get a little bit of evidence. Then there's going to be time when all you get is evidence. It seems like the spirits and everybody is chatty. You will get negative entities trying to communicate with you, which is another reason why prayer is important, because you want to say at the beginning that you only want to communicate with high vibrational, high frequency entities, energies. I'm leery on which word to say. I don't want to use the word ghosts all the time, or spirits, or entities, because I feel that it might confuse some of you. But I think that you guys know the difference. So you will have negative energy that's trying to communicate with you. You don't want that. So you want to say at the outset, in the name of Jesus Christ, only high frequency energies are allowed to communicate with me. No lower entities. You want to listen carefully. When they tell you to leave, when they tell you to stop, when they tell you to go away, do it. Regardless of the reason why. Just, thank you for your time. Thank you for communicating with me. Rest in peace. Pack up and go. Let it be known that you don't want any spirits or entities to be following you. They have to stay where they're at. Say it firmly. Just like if there was a burglar in your home and you was telling them to leave, you wouldn't go, oh, please leave. You're like, you got to go, or else I'm calling the cops. Say it with force. Be respectful when you speak to them. It's good to turn around and say, introduce yourself, and that you may have come a long way to speak with them, and that you mean no harm. Okay? Because they don't know what your intentions are. So if you tell them that you mean no harm, that helps. If they're Jewish, I understand that it's customary to leave a rock or a pebble on their resting place, usually their headstones. So do that. Show respect. This helps. Sometimes they're willing to talk to you. And Brooklyn, Queens border, there is McFella Cemetery. And there, the great Harry Houdini and members of his family is buried there. And I go there from time to time, trying to communicate with Harry Houdini. I usually get a family member. And I believe I got his mother once. And I told her that I was trying matzo ball soup. And she goes, nice. And I took Hebrew for a short period of time. And I was trying to say part of the Torah. And she laughed because I guess I didn't say it right. And it came over on the spirit box. So some of them will be very friendly. Some of them can be very rude. Some of them could be downright mean. They'll curse at you. But you need to know also when to use your spirit box. Spirit boxes are basically used when you're going to be in an outside, noisy environment. You can use it indoors if you're by yourself or, with one other person or something like that. The reason why I prefer to use it when I'm outdoors is because, like I said earlier, it's noisy. I have gone on locations. Some of the haunted houses you may go to are actually also museums. So you're not going to be the only one walking around there looking at the items and everything. But you may be the only one there doing an investigation. And for the other guests who comes in, they're going to hear the spirit box. They're going to wonder what it is. And it's going to make them feel uncomfortable. That happened to me and the group that I was with. We had our spirit box. It was loud. People came in. It made them uncomfortable. They remarked to the curator about it. And the curator said that we had to turn it off. Now, I learned also through Troy Taylor's book that if you're indoors, unless you want to hear that response right then and there, if you're indoors, just do your digital recorder. You don't need the spirit box. The spirit will talk on there, and when you rewind the tape and you want to hear it, you'll either hear something or you won't. So I've learned to do that. It's less obstructive for other people who are walking around there. I mean, if you was to go to a museum, you wouldn't walk around with a boombox with the loud music for other people to hear and be disturbed by. So do the same thing with the spirit box. Digital cameras, make sure it has a good flash. A 1080 pixel is good. Make sure it has a good flash because you could go to one of these drugstores and pick up a inexpensive camera for $20-30 and the flash won't go no further than a few inches, maybe a foot at best. You want to make sure you get a nice bright flash. The spirit box, you already know. Now some of these equipment, like the spirit box, you can get on eBay. You could get at the Ghost Hunters store. I repeat, the Ghost Hunters store. www.TheghostHunter.com. The store is owned by Dave Giuliano, who is also a paranormal investigator. He does lectures. He's had experiences, a lot of experiences. He has a book that I suggest everyone gets. It's called The Armor of God. This book contains a variety of prayers and a variety of different denominations. So if you're Jewish, Buddhist, Wiccan, pagan, Christian, it'll have a prayer there for you. It has prayers for personal protection, prayers for family members, prayers for homes, dealing with spiritual warfare, that kind of thing. Know your limitations. Okay? You are not an exorcist. You are not a demonologist. You are an investigator. Do not try to take on these very powerful, very negative entities. You won't win. You're not experienced. You haven't been trained. That's like you trying to fight Merriweather. It's not going to end well for you when you get into the ring. You might not make it out. So, in terms of teams, I've touched on that. Make sure you have a good team. Make sure these guys aren't doing drugs. Make sure the leader of the team knows what he or she are doing. When I first met my first team, the guy wasn't organized at all. He complained about how he can't walk too much and how his feet would hurt, but he would have you hiking all through the cemetery and hardly doing investigations. If I wanted to hike, I would go to a park. I came to investigate. Let's stop somewhere at a tombstone of somebody that's famous and try to do an EVP session. So try to make sure the person knows what they're doing, that they're organized, that they have a plan. Because you're not going to want to spend 3 hours walking around the place and actually only did an investigation for 30 minutes. Find somebody there that can be your mentor. That's how I found my first one. This guy had been investigating for 15 years. He taught me the basics for the equipment and where to get them. He gave me pointers. And understand that being a ghost hunter or an investigator is a lot like being in school. You will change mentors over time. Because when you're starting out, you're kind of like in kindergarten. That's where you're at now. Later on, you might find somebody who investigates prisons, who investigate insane asylums or, psychiatric centers that's been abandoned, that actually goes to haunted houses. Haunted houses, not the museum type haunted houses. That goes to haunted locations. And understand that these all have different techniques. That's why they have the SLS camera. They have the full spectrum camera. They have the UV light, the IR light. They have the REM pod and so forth. It's all based on what they're investigating. When you see what these people are using on, say, Ghost Adventures, for instance, keep in mind, they're not just doing what you and I as beginners would do. I've only had 3 years experience. I've experienced a lot, but I haven't been to a abandoned prison. I've been to 2 psychiatric centers, but I haven't done it to the extent that these guys have done it. So the mentor that I have now, his experience is, he has 50 years of experience, and his family, members of his family was in the field before. So, his pedigree is good. It's like a thoroughbred if it was a horse. You will change them over time, because as you learn more, you want to expand more. Doing the same thing over and over again, it may seem like, it's tedious. It's always interesting, but you want to learn more. You want to learn the other side of it. Get involved with a really good paranormal group. The second paranormal group that I had joined, and that I'm currently with, once a month we get together and we have dinner. Now, these guys that come, they're from all different backgrounds, religiously and paranormal wise. Some of them are Wiccans. Some of them are, they approach the paranormal through a metaphysical side. We have people who have questions. They found out that they're an empath. They find out that they can project astrally, and they have questions. They've had dreams, and they don't have anybody to talk to. So we're like a support group where we share our experiences, and sometimes somebody will answer something that they know more about it than I do, or other members do. And we learn. And sometimes we get together through them and we do a little investigations elsewhere. That's a good group. Everybody should have an open mind. You will get some people that will tell you things that will make you say to yourself, that person is out there. But their experience is not your experience yet. So you have to be mindful and respectful of that. Some people will say things that is downright full of crap. Be respectful of that. You know, always have an open mind, because you want that same thing with you. You will come across people who are definitely influenced by a demon. One person came to the group and said to us that demons just want to be loved. We looked at each other, looked at him, and said, that's impossible. Demons only feel hatred. They hate mankind. They are dedicated to our destruction. They don't feel anything other than deep-seated hate. Even when they grant you your wishes, if you was to, like they say in Hollywood and in the music industry, a lot of these performers have sold their soul, and that's why they're so rich and everything. It's going to come at a very heavy price. You don't know what they're experiencing behind closed doors, the kind of dreams they may be having. All this for riches and fame. There's nothing positive about demons. Nothing positive about contacting them. So you will hear stuff like that. That's, people like that are either under the influence or they're trying to get you to lower your guard for a negative reason. You will form a tight-knit group after a while. I mean, the core members that is in the group that I belong to, we're like family. We call each other brothers and sisters. And if we need help, we know that the other members will be there. There's about 8 of us in the core group. And we know beyond shadow of a doubt. We could even post a message on Messenger and say, I need you guys to pray for me. I'm going through a situation. I need help. Everybody will pray. Even if they're going through tough times themselves, they will take the time out and pray and send their love and energy to you. That's the kind of group you need. That's the kind of group you want. You will notice that when you're around people that have these variety of gifts, okay, your gifts will get stronger, because like attracts like. And the energy that you're getting all that positive energy and love. Books. Well, I've already mentioned Dave Giuliano's Armor of God, and I mentioned Troy Taylor's. What I will do is I will get the exact name of the book and I will link it under the description box so that you would know. I will also link a couple of stores where you could buy ghost hunting equipment if you don't want to get it through eBay. eBay is good. Their prices are reasonable. And for now, I will leave it at the beginning, stuff that you need. Your beginning equipment should be a digital recorder, a spirit box, and a digital camera. I'm not sure if I want to talk more on equipment the next time or if I should talk on books that will help you. Either way, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, leave your comments down below in the comment section, and I will try to answer any questions that you may have, give you advice. Again, it's based on my experience. Okay, so these are the things that I've experienced, places that I've gone to, people I've met. You know what I should do? I should probably touch on the correct questions to ask when you're doing these investigations. Excuse me. As I said in earlier videos, spirits are intelligent. They're the ones that interact with the living. And one of the most common questions people ask is, If you're here, make a noise. Keep in mind, a punch in the back makes a noise. You'll say, ow. Your head being slammed up against the wall, make a noise. Be specific. Say something like, if you're here, knock on the table twice. If you're here, make the lights flicker. Because it's safer for you, for one. Two, you're getting a direct response to your question. So I'm going to leave it at that. This video was kind of long. It's like 30 minutes. I want to try to reduce it because I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I don't want you to get bored. You know, some of you may say there's nothing here that pertains to me and want to turn it off. So I'm going to leave it at that. I will see you next time. Again, subscribe, like, leave a comment. Until then, have a blessed day. Love, peace, and light to you all. Goodbye.